Have you ever felt like you don't want to do the things the old way anymore? You don't want to live in the old ways anymore, the old heavy ways. Well, if you did, then there's one thing that you are going to stop doing. And I'm going to reveal everything about it in this video. Hello everyone, my name is Doris Victoria, your personal empowerment coach and conscious millionaire coach. And as promised, today I'm going to talk about the number one thing a light worker stops doing. And you know what that is? It's aging. You don't age anymore. And I'm going to tell you everything about it and why. So if you have been like me, you have asked yourself questions all your life. What is gossiping bringing to people? Why are people more, concerned about others than their own life? Why do they put their nose into other people's business that is not theirs? There's so many things that you might have been doing differently, or when you have a disease, for example, or when you're ill, you maybe started looking for plant medicine instead of supporting big pharma, going to the doctor, putting your power to the outside sources, outsourcing your power to other beings that could not possibly be what is going, or could not possibly know what's going on in your body, because you're the only one living in your body. So that is the other thing. Maybe you have changed your diet. Maybe you are only eating now what feels good to you, what brings you energy, what makes you feel good and great and happy and playful and healthy, Maybe you stopped eating sugar. Maybe all the old ways of living life, or if somebody is hurting you, somebody hurt you, you are still keeping an open heart. You're still willing to forgive this person. So all these, if you have been finding yourself in doing things differently than the rest of the world, or at least the people around you, and I'm sure that maybe if you have had the same past like me, you have left those relationships that were no longer supporting of the new ways that you felt were healthier to live in. Maybe you have left a lot of people behind, but a lot of new people came into your life that felt exactly the same way. So if you have been there, there's one big thing that you have noticed, and that's that you start glowing more. You start it's like as if we are enlightening our light from the inside out. It is not, we are not looking for outside approval as much anymore. No, we have our own boundaries now. We know who we are. We do not engage in drama anymore. We forgive and let go, because we know that unforgiveness is poisoning your own life. You think you're poisoning the other, or many people feel like, no, I'm not going to let this person off the hook. That person has hurt me too much. But it's actually, you're not letting you off the hook. You're keeping yourself in a mental prison. And as a light worker, you know all that, So why do we stop aging? One of the things is, if we do not carry emotional baggage anymore, because we as light workers are not afraid of doing the shadow work. We are looking into our shadows. We are looking into unhealed emotions. We are going to spiritual retreats. We are doing breath work, We are going for finding ourselves and means of empowering our own being so that we can heal, and then, giving it to the outside world. There's one thing that I learned. We stopped being perfect. We don't feel the need to be perfect anymore as light workers. All this emotional baggage, if you feel like you have to be perfect. Another thing is, we're not dimming our light anymore in order to fit in, And because we are no longer dimming our light to fit in, we are shining our light. All this is actually bringing us closer to our soul. I just talked to one of my family members. I told you about my relationship with my mother. And the last time I saw her, it was challenging as always. And this time I told her, because for her, something that a person is doing and what they are is the same thing. And so I told her, Mom, for me, what one is, the being of a human being is always love. It is always source energy, but the behaviors are conditioned. The behaviors oftentimes, as long as we are not conscious of what we are, of our daily habits, of our behaviors, the behaviors are oftentimes a childhood conditioning. It stems from childhood where we felt like we needed to be a certain way in order to get what we needed, to survive, in order to feel loved, maybe even, whatever. But so those two things are two completely different beings. Why do I talk about it? Because we as light workers have also realized that as God selves, as our soul selves, which is what I told my mom, as our real being is always love, is always perfect. It's always light, it's beauty, it's joy. But it's our behaviors that can make us and others sick and do not necessarily have to be healthy. And especially if you already are in illness, check out your behaviors. Don't think that that's what you are. No. It is oftentimes behaviors that stem from unhealed emotions, and unhealed emotions come from mental vibrations. They're coming from thoughts that we're still thinking about us or about the world that are unhealed. So those two things, the real being of us and our behaviors, are two completely different things. So we as light workers, we have worked on our behaviors because we wanted to let go of all this heavy baggage. Like I always wanted to feel light and joyful. I was watching the birds when I was a little kid. And even this morning, I'm here in beautiful Sedona right now at a spiritual retreat. And when I did an early morning walk, I got out of my house, I think it was 6:30 or so. It was still, you could still breathe, because during the day it gets almost like 40 degrees Celsius here. I think this is about 110 Fahrenheit for those of you that count in Fahrenheit. It gets really hot here during the day. So, but I got out and I had hummingbirds always flying with me. I even, I woke up because I heard a special bird and I was like, what is that bird? I never heard that sound before. And then when I was walking, a beautiful bright red bird flew right towards me and sat down on a cable right above my head. And I figured it was a cardinal, the male cardinal. And then later on, his female came and sat down next to him. And I took some pictures of, it was so beautiful. And then they started singing. The male started singing. And I was like, oh, it was you waking me up this morning, So why do I tell you all this? It's because we connect with life around us. We are aware that we are joy, we are love, we are everything. We're not separated from earth. And so we get into what is surrounding us, into the magic of what is surrounding us. And this is what, when you fill your day with just imagining the magic or, just observing the magic around you, instead of getting stuck in limiting beliefs or heavy emotions, I feel like this is when we can enjoy the magic around us, when we are transforming all these mental shadows and we transform the emotional shadows, all this unhealed vibration in our body. That's when we shed a lot of the weight, a lot of that weight that we feel like we need to carry. Like, for example, a light worker enjoys life. It's not just in survival mode. We got out of fight or flight because we worked on our parasympathetic nervous system. We worked on our vagus nerve. We worked on feeling in alignment with who we truly are as God selves. And we know that it's more about authenticity than perfection. And only by being authentic can we enlighten the world. Because when you allow yourself to be authentic, then everyone around you has the permission as well to be authentic. But if you are still playing small because you feel like you need to fit in, what service are you giving to others? You're not really an example for the other person because you are still playing small. You're still dimming your light. And light workers, we are not here to do this. We are here to shine. We are here to find out who we truly are and then bring this beauty, this unique beauty into the world by our being, just by walking this planet, you know? So why do we stop aging? Because kindness and compassion, my dear ones, those are the key words. When we shed all this old world weight, like being in survival mode, not forgiving, having emotions that are bugging us, maybe, craving sugar or alcohol or any kind of addictive material in order to kind of to cloud our emotions because we don't want to go there. We don't want to do this inner work. This is actually what makes us heavy. But when you release all this old stuff and you illuminate the flame, this flame that has always been on pilot flame within you, that's when your DNA can start to function again, because there is no longer this emotional, this vibrational heaviness that is holding you down. No, you are starting to fly. Actually, a good friend of mine, my Hawaiian friend Waven, once said, he met me 20 years ago when I was still in an unhappy marriage. And he said, what are you doing in this marriage? You're ready to fly. You're like a balloon. You want to take off. And this marriage is like stones holding you down, holding the balloon down. You cannot take off. And that for me was the shifting point. Because the way he described it was exactly what it was. There was something holding me down. I was ready to fly. I did the spiritual work. I transformed a lot of my shadows. I invested time in myself to let go of all the old ways that were not serving me, because the one thing I always wanted to do or to be is happy. And happiness, dear ones, is what keeps us from aging any further. Because when you are light and when you live joyfully, like I told you before, immersing yourself into the wonders of nature around you, for example, or into the wonders of a good book, or the wonders of hearing a beautiful symphony, whatever it is, you are present in that moment. And when you're present, when you can give your full attention, because there's nothing in your monkey mind bothering you anymore, telling you, I need to do this or whatever. No, you're just this light and joyful being that is allowing yourself to live. And that is illuminating that pilot flame. And when you do that, you start having this inner glow, this inner beautiful light that is turning on, and that will attract more miracles into your life. Like I seem to attract birds. I saw javelinas here the first night I arrived. I saw a family of javelinas just walking on the other side of the road. It was just a tiny street, like a residential street. And there was a family of javelinas. There were 2 babies and 2 adults. No, I think there were 3 adults that I saw. And, I stood, of course, I backed up a little bit when I saw them because I didn't want to frighten them when I saw babies. I know that mothers are hyper protective of their babies, but they didn't even feel threatened by me because they felt that I was coming from love, that I wasn't afraid of them. I was just in awe and wonder. Because I Googled about them before I came here to Sedona. I was like, I got myself acquainted to the local flora and fauna, and I wanted to know what's around. And they were talking about those javelinas. They kind of look like wild boars if you don't know what they are. But it was such a beautiful connective moment, They were looking at me and they kept going their own way. And I took some pictures. It was just amazing. And with the birds this morning, the same. When I got out of my house early in the morning, there were hummingbirds. There was always a couple of hummingbirds You know, I felt like they were walking with me. They were always around me. I saw a hawk high up in a cedar tree. I saw cardinals, as I told you before, you know. They were all, I felt like the birds were all coming to me, telling me good morning, giving me a warm welcome. Welcome to Sedona. That's what I heard. Welcome to our territory. It was just amazing. And this is what happens when we are light enough to enjoy the wonders of the world, the wonders of life. And when no more old world heavy stuff is keeping us down because we have done the shadow work, because we choose to be authentic, because we let go of perfectionism, because we no longer engage in drama, because we have thrown out our television long time out of the window, you know, because we are different, we are loving, we're kind, we're compassionate. That is connecting with your own real being, that soul of you that is always light and love. And when you do that, you stop aging. Because aging in the end is a process that only happens when we believe in it. As old Lemurian souls, we already know that age is just an illusion of the 3D matrix. And because humankind sees everything around aging, they think they need to age too. But no, we are not from this earth. We are from the stars. We are different beings. We are the grand galactic experiment here on earth. And I truly believe that this time we will do it. So now you know the answer. The number one thing a light worker stops doing is aging. And it's because you got back into compassion. You got back into joy, the lightness of being, the happiness about being, engaging into the magic around you that is always there, the magic around you and within you. Because when you meditate and you're in absolute stillness, and by the way, the stillness here in Sedona is something I have never heard anywhere else in the world. I actually don't want to sleep at night. I sleep like a baby here, but it's almost like I don't want to sleep because I want to listen to that silence. And I want to listen to what the silence has to teach me. So it is just magical. Thank you for being here with me today. If you need help to let go of your shadows, if you still need help to let your light shine, I can take one more person into my schedule now. You know how it works. Just text me a message and we will connect and see if we're a good fit. And then from there we go. And I'm looking forward to be on your side on that magnificent journey. And I can tell you it is worthwhile. I did it myself, I did it with many clients, and it is worthwhile walking the path of illumination and enlightenment. So with this, my dear ones, have a beautiful rest of your day. Thank you for being here with me today. Let me know what you are taking away from today's video. I'm looking forward to read your comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for today.